Welcome, Screen Junkies. I am so delighted today because I am here with director Niki Caro of so many films, Whale Rider, The Zookeeper's Wife, which is coming up, and the upcoming live-action Mulan. But we're going to talk about The Zookeeper's Wife, which opens this Friday, March 31st in theaters, and you should see it. Let's set this up a little bit. This is a film about a woman played by Jessica Chastain who is of remarkable compassion during World War II. She co-runs and co-owns a zoo with her husband, and they hid over 300 persecuted Jews in Warsaw. And this came to you via a script, right? You didn't seek out this project. So can you talk a little bit about why it spoke to you right now?
Look, like the rest of the world, I'd never heard the name Antonina Zabinska, let alone the role she played in history. And I was so shocked that I didn't know this story. And the sort of story it was for a Holocaust story spoke to me because it was so much about her care and compassion, her light in a time of tremendous evil. And I thought this would be a new way of telling a Holocaust story, one that focused on healing and humanity in the midst of that terrible, terrible time.
You know, it's true. There have been, rightfully so many stories told about the Holocaust. And one of the things that I really loved about this film is that it trusts the audience to understand the context. It's not, so I was curious for you as a director, how much you wanted to give the context to where we find ourselves in history and trust us.
Yeah, well, yes, I do trust the audience. Audiences are incredibly smart. And we are all extremely aware of that time in history, as we should be, and these stories should be told and retold. The difference with this is that it's about the zookeeper's wife. It's about her experience of the war. And Antonina had such a strong instinct to protect and nurture animals, to give them sanctuary, that transferred to her, to the human species. So she created sanctuary within her zoo. And that makes it a very, very different perspective because it's the female experience of war. Her husband, Jan, is going out. He's a member of the resistance, and he's going out and doing all the things we know, we are familiar with fighting in war. Involve guns and bombs. Antonina fights her war with kindness and with love. And the sanctuary she created inside of her zoo allowed those traumatized people to survive that war with their dignity intact and their humanity intact.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like this is a celebration of empathy, the entire film, which I think in kind of a cynical world, that may be hard for people to connect with. And it's remarkable to me that it is the real story of a woman who loved animals, because animals are our pathway to empathy. A lot of times they open our heart.
Yes.
So the film opens and it's these two sleeping lion cubs with a boy, with a human boy, and it's this picture of innocence, and you want to protect it, and it sort of sets you up perfectly for what's to come. You want to protect that vulnerability like her, so it puts you in her position.
Yes. That shot is really indicative of the philosophy of the filmmaking here and the work we did with animals. I work with animals in pretty much exactly the same way as I work with actors, which is to create an environment that's real for them, that they feel very secure and calm, very safe, so that they can be themselves. And so that shot was initially scripted as being Antonina feeding the lion cubs like you would a baby with a bottle, more like a traditional Madonna mother and child image. But when the little lions came onto set, they had already been fed. So there was no question that they were going to, we weren't going to force them to be fed again. That's not the way we rolled here. So like all little babies, they needed to go to sleep after they'd had a bottle. So we just put them on the bed with little Tim, who's the actor playing Rish, and put the camera behind Antonina which is a much better image, by the way. It keeps her very enigmatic, and there's a little focus shift which reveals that the children that she's watching over are not both the same species. It was both very kind of interesting and engaging, but also very authentic to the way the way the Zabinskis lived. They had animals in all aspects of their lives. The children slept with the animals in their beds, and that's just how it was.
They live, I think one of the cool things too is they live, this really unusual life in terms of how they live with animals, these extraordinary animals coming in and out of their home, and so closely connected with them, but they're also kind of living very normal lives in Warsaw. Yes. And what I liked is that she's imperfect. She makes moves that with the information that you have, with the historical perspective, you go, don't do that, get out, and she becomes very human in that way, which I think is important because this is not a normal human being. Most people wouldn't go to these lengths.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? The Zabinskis didn't consider themselves heroic. They didn't consider themselves extraordinary in any way. They did what they did because it was the right thing to do. That's their radical humanity at work. I think with the benefit of historical hindsight, we can look back and go, would I have done that? Would I have had the courage to do that? I think for the Zabinskis, as events were unfolding in Europe in the 30s, the late 30s, that they just did what was instinctively right. And because of their relationship with animals, with all life was sacred, all life deserving of being protected and being saved. And when you put it like that, it's simple, but incredibly courageous, incredibly heroic.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, so dangerous. All of this, had they been discovered, punishable by death. And there were Nazi guards in that zoo every day from dawn until midnight. It's incredible.
One of the other things that there was a tiny little moment in the film, and where the banality of evil I thought was so incredibly captured, which is a couple takes a photograph outside of the Warsaw Ghetto as if it's a tourist attraction. And I was curious what your inspiration for that was.
Documentary evidence from the Warsaw Ghetto. When you have the responsibility of depicting that time and place on screen, you better do it right. And so myself and my colleagues, we didn't watch movies about it. We went back to every bit of photographic and filmed evidence. And that was, unfortunately, shamefully, as something of a convention in Warsaw. And for me as a filmmaker, there were so many parallels here in the image making between what is our human nature, what is our animal nature, what is a cage, what is sanctuary. And the Warsaw Ghetto was the biggest cage of all.
There's been a lot of conversation sort of in the larger sense about women directors over the last year or two. There was an investigation into the DGA, and you are about to be the fourth director to direct a over $100 million film. Curious about your pragmatic advice.
Well, firstly, I shouldn't be the fourth. I should be the 40th. I should be the 400th. As for advice, it's really hard for me to talk about this. It makes me really angry and really sad that so many incredibly skilled and talented and ambitious women are not given the opportunity to do their work. And for us to hear those voices. I don't know how I can make any kind of meaningful change. I mean, beyond hiring women on my movies when they're the best person for the job, and frequently they are. I think what I have to do is make the movies that I have lucky enough to have the opportunity to direct as successful and engaging as I can, so that I can kick the door open a little bit, wedge my knee in at my shoulder, so that other women can kind of charge through the door. Because honestly, it's lonely being a female director.
I bet. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm curious about. I remember hearing a TED Talk with a very high-level executive, female executive. And she said, one of the things that she said is a lot of times women give up before they reach the full level of their potential in success because it's so difficult. Would you advise, like, just don't give up?
I would challenge that.
Would you challenge that?
I would challenge that. I think they get a lot of help in giving up. It's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a topic of great interest and curiosity and passion for me. I mean, I think probably for a lot of people. So sometimes I just think, like, we get advice like follow your bliss, but like, how should you talk in the room? You know what I mean? Is there a way?
Well, you have to be in the room.
Right.
You can't shout outside of the room. Nobody's listening. If I have some pragmatic advice for people that make the decisions, because I don't make the decisions, I would say get women on the list. Allow them into the room. Have a listen to what they have to say. And don't and appreciate that there is absolutely no level of risk to hire a woman to direct a movie. None whatsoever. There's no inherent risk in a female director that is not in
equally
true of a male director.
Unfortunately, I think the narrow scope of the opportunity means that a lot of times the interpretation is for every film that's directed by a woman, for example, Wonder Woman, the success of that film is going to equal an answer about if it makes sense to have a woman direct a film like that.
Yeah. I mean, just no pressure on any of us.
No pressure on you, by the way.
Yeah, no pressure on me, on Patty Jenkins, on Ava DuVernay. You know, still, it's our job. It's our job to make good movies. Yeah.
I just rewatched Mulan the other day, and I love it so much.
Isn't it great?
It's so great, and she's such a great character. I'm curious, like, what sort of are you thinking about and imagining how you can make this distinct from the animated version?
Yeah, look, that's again a big conversation and a premature one because I haven't started on the movie yet. It is the live-action version is based on both the inspirational Chinese ballad and the beloved animated classic. It's an amazing and epic action adventure. And that's about as far as I've been, I've gone in the process yet as somebody that hasn't really begun.
It's I know everyone is super curious about it, and there's been talk about, is it a musical, is it not? And I know you're still in like very nascent stages.
Absolutely. Of course there's going to be music in the movie, but all of those conversations are just in their beginning stages about what role music plays and the conceiving of the movie as a whole, as an organic whole.
Is there one song that you especially love from the original? Like, there's something about "I'll Make a Man Out of You."
I love it.
That seems so emblematic of the film.
I love it.
Is there one that you think is like, that captures Mulan?
No, I just think it's a really great song. It's a really great song. They're all great though.
Yeah.
There's not very many of them either.
There's not many of them. Yeah, there really aren't. It's actually sparse on music. Do you have a favorite?
I think that's my favorite. Yeah. It seems so. It's so arch.
Yeah.
It's so ironic. I love it.
Did you see Beauty and the Beast?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's like one of the weirdest, interesting challenges I think in these the live action adaptations is how do you keep them cute and yet realistic?
Well, Disney is the master at this.
Yeah.
And everyone is different.
By the way, they are the master at everything.
Yeah.
Have you checked out their box office? It's insane. It's like 60% of all the box office. So congratulations for getting in bed with a winner. Pave the way for all of the other women, please. And thank you for offering us your insight and your advice. To me, you are a person that tells the story of uniquely female heroes, from Whale Rider to the Zookeeper's Wife and into Mulan. It could not be more perfect.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do my very best.
Yeah. Is there a difference for you for a female hero? No.
No, except I know them. Yeah.
Intimately.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much again for your time. You guys need to go see The Zookeeper's Wife on March 31st and just tap into your own compassion for a couple of hours. It'll feel good when you come out. Thank you again so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Click here for more awesome Screen Junkies news and click the logo to subscribe.